The rain was a relentless curtain, blurring the world outside my window. It was more than just a storm. It felt like the sky itself was weeping. And maybe it was weeping for me. You see, that night, the night of my 27th birthday, I found myself standing outside the imposing gates of my family's estate, the cold seeping through my thin dress, each raindrop a tiny shard of ice against my skin. They'd kicked me out. On my birthday. It sounds dramatic, I know, like something from a movie, but it was my reality. And if you've ever felt the sting of betrayal, the gut-wrenching ache of being unwanted by those who should love you unconditionally, then you understand. If you believe in the power of kindness, if you believe that what goes around comes around, then I want you to do something for me. Press that subscribe button. Give this video a like. Let me know you're out there, that you understand. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? What city are you in right now? Because your support means the world to me. And this story, well, it's a story about hope, resilience, and the unexpected places where you find your true family. My name is Alistair, and up until that night, my life had been a carefully constructed facade. The Langfords, my family, were pillars of society, wealth, influence, the kind of reputation that gleams like polished silver. My father, Julian, was a renowned surgeon, his hands steady and precise in the operating room, but often cold and distant at home. My mother, Eleanor, was the epitome of grace and poise, hosting charity galas, sitting on prestigious committees, her smile practiced, her eyes always assessing. I, on the other hand, was different. While my parents valued academic achievements and social connections, I found myself drawn to the tangible, the practical. I loved working with my hands, fixing things, building things. My sanctuary was my grandfather's old workshop, tucked away at the edge of the estate. Elias, my grandfather, was a gruff but gentle soul, his hands gnarled and strong, stained with the honest toil of carpentry. He taught me everything he knew, patiently guiding my clumsy fingers as I learned to plane wood, to weld metal, to understand the intricate beauty of how things fit together. My parents tolerated my hobby, at best. They saw it as a phase, a childish fascination that I would eventually outgrow. They had grander plans for me. Law school, a prestigious marriage, a life that mirrored their own. But I couldn't conform. The idea of spending my life in a boardroom or a courtroom filled me with a profound sense of unease. I yearned for the scent of sawdust, the feel of a hammer in my hand, the satisfaction of creating something real. The tension came to a head when I announced my decision to attend a vocational college, to pursue a career as a master craftsman. It was like I'd spoken a forbidden word. My father's face hardened, his voice sharp as a scalpel. My mother's composure cracked, her carefully constructed elegance replaced by a raw, furious disappointment. "You're throwing your life away," my father had said, his words laced with contempt. "All that potential, wasted on manual labor." "It's not a waste," I'd argued, my voice trembling but firm. "It's what I love. It's who I am." "Who you are is a Langford," my mother had retorted, her eyes blazing. "And Langfords don't spend their lives covered in grease." The argument escalated, harsh words exchanged, old wounds reopened. It was a battle I couldn't win, a chasm of misunderstanding too wide to bridge. And so, on my 27th birthday, after a particularly brutal confrontation, they issued their ultimatum: abandon my dreams, or abandon their home. I chose my dreams. And that's how I found myself standing outside those gates, the rain soaking me to the bone, my heart a lead weight in my chest. I should have turned back. I should have swallowed my pride and begged for their acceptance. But something inside me, a stubborn ember of defiance, refused to let me surrender. I turned to leave, to walk away from the only home I'd ever known, when a light flickered in the window of the workshop. Elias. The old wooden door creaked open, and my grandfather stood there, his face etched with worry, his eyes filled with a love that had always been my anchor in the storm. "Alistair," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "What happened? Why are you out in this weather?" I told him everything, the fight, the ultimatum, the crushing finality of their rejection. As I spoke, his face grew darker, his hands clenching into fists. They did what? He growled, his voice low and dangerous. They threw you out? On your birthday? I nodded, tears streaming down my face, mingling with the rain. I don't know what to do, Grandpa, I whispered. I have nowhere to go. He pulled me inside, his strong arm around my shoulders, his presence a comforting warmth in the cold night. He wrapped me in an old, worn blanket, the scent of wood and oil clinging to it, a familiar and beloved smell. You always have a place here, Alistair, he said, his voice firm. Always. This workshop, it's your home as much as it is mine. And in that moment, surrounded by the tools and projects that had always brought me solace, I knew he meant it. My grandfather, with his calloused hands and his unwavering belief in me, was my true family. He made me a cup of hot tea, laced with honey and a splash of something stronger, something that warmed me from the inside out. We sat in silence for a while, the rain drumming on the roof, the only other sound the gentle ticking of the old clock on the wall. Then, Elias spoke, his voice low and thoughtful. Your parents, he said, they're good people in their own way. But they're blinded by their own ambitions, their own expectations. They can't see the value in what you do, in who you are. But why, Grandpa? I asked, my voice thick with unshed tears. Why can't they just accept me? He sighed, his gaze drifting to the half-finished carving on his workbench. Sometimes, Alistair, people are so focused on what they want their children to be, they forget to see who they actually are. They try to mold them into their own image, instead of nurturing their unique gifts. His words resonated with a painful truth. My parents had never truly seen me. They'd seen the son they wanted, the son who would carry on the family legacy in their narrow, predefined terms. They'd failed to see the passion that burned within me, the quiet determination that fueled my desire to create. But it hurts, Grandpa, I whispered. It hurts so much. He reached out and took my hand, his grip firm and reassuring. I know, lad. I know. But you're stronger than you think. You have a fire in you, Alistair, a spark of creativity and resilience that will carry you through this. You just have to believe in yourself. He paused, a strange glint in his eyes. And there's something else, he added, his voice low and mysterious. Something you need to know. He rose from his chair and walked over to an old wooden chest tucked away in a corner of the workshop. He unlocked it with a small, tarnished key and carefully lifted out a worn leather-bound book. This, he said, handing it to me, belongs to you. I stared at the book, my heart pounding with a mixture of curiosity and trepidation. The leather was soft and cracked with age, the pages yellowed and brittle. It felt ancient, like it held secrets whispered from a forgotten time. What is it, Grandpa? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He hesitated for a moment, his gaze searching my face. It's your mother's journal, he said finally. Your real mother. The words hit me like a physical blow, stealing the air from my lungs. My real mother? What did he mean? My head swam with confusion, a whirlwind of questions and disbelief. What are you talking about? I stammered. Eleanor is my mother. Elias shook his head gently. No, Alistair. Eleanor is your aunt. She and Julian adopted you when you were a baby. The world tilted on its axis. Everything I thought I knew about myself, about my family, shattered into a million pieces. Adopted? My entire life, built on a foundation of lies, of carefully constructed illusions. But why? I whispered, my voice choked with emotion. Why would they keep this from me? Elias sighed, his face etched with sadness. It's a long story, Alistair, a story filled with secrets and regrets. But it's your story, and you deserve to know the truth. He sat down beside me, and as the rain continued to fall outside, he began to unravel the tangled threads of my past, revealing a truth that would change my life forever. My birth mother's name was Clara. She was Eleanor's younger sister, a vibrant, free-spirited woman with a passion for art and a fierce independence. She was everything Eleanor was not. unconventional, impulsive, and unapologetically herself. Clara was also a skilled carpenter, a talent she'd inherited from Elias. She had the same love for working with her hands, the same innate understanding of wood and metal that I felt in my own soul. It was a connection I'd never known existed, a hidden legacy passed down through blood I hadn't known was mine. But Clara's unconventional lifestyle clashed with the Langfords' rigid social expectations. They saw her as reckless, irresponsible, a source of embarrassment to their carefully cultivated image. When she became pregnant with me, unmarried and unwilling to conform to their demands, the tension reached a breaking point. Eleanor and Julian, desperate to maintain their pristine reputation, offered to adopt me. They would raise me as their own, give me the respectable life that Clara, in their eyes, could not provide. Clara, faced with the overwhelming pressure from her family and the uncertainty of her own future, reluctantly agreed. Her only condition was that I would know the truth someday. But Eleanor and Julian, consumed by their own desires, their own need for control, buried the secret deep, intending to take it to their graves. They raised me as their own, showering me with material wealth, but withholding the emotional connection, the unconditional love that every child craves. My passion for craftsmanship, my innate talent for building and fixing, was a constant reminder of Clara, a ghost they couldn't exorcise. As Elias spoke, I clutched the journal to my chest, my tears soaking into the worn leather. Clara's words, her thoughts, her dreams, were contained within those pages, a lifeline to a past I was only just beginning to understand. I opened the journal, my fingers trembling, and began to read. Her handwriting was bold and flowing, filled with energy and emotion. She wrote about her love for wood, for the way it felt in her hands, for the endless possibilities it held. She wrote about her dreams for me, her hopes that I would grow up to be strong and independent, true to myself, no matter what the world threw my way. And then she wrote about her fears. Her fear that she wouldn't be able to provide for me, her fear that I would be judged and ostracized because of her choices. Her words were filled with a raw vulnerability that resonated deep within my soul. If you're reading this, one entry read, then I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't brave enough. But please know, my dearest Alistair, that you were the best thing that ever happened to me. You were my light, my hope, my reason for living. And I love you, more than words can say. The tears streamed down my face, blurring the ink on the page. I felt a connection to Clara, a bond that transcended time and circumstance. She was my mother, my true mother, and her love, her sacrifice, had shaped me in ways I was only just beginning to comprehend. I looked up at Elias, his face etched with a mixture of sadness and pride. "Why didn't you tell me sooner, Grandpa?" I asked, my voice hoarse.
He sighed.
"I wanted to, Alistair. Believe me, I did. But I promised Clara I would wait until the time was right. Until you were strong enough to handle the truth. And now is the right time?" He nodded. "Now you need to know who you are. You need to know where you come from. You need to know that you are loved." The weight of his words settled upon me, a profound sense of peace, washing over the turmoil within my soul. I was not a Langford, not in the way my parents had defined it. I was a part of something deeper, something more meaningful. I was Clara's son, a craftsman, a creator, a survivor. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed up reading Clara's journal, poring over her words, tracing her handwriting with my fingers. I felt her presence in the workshop, her spirit alive in the tools and the wood, in the very air I breathed. And as the first rays of dawn peeked through the window, I made a decision. I would honor Clara's memory. I would embrace my true heritage. I would build a life that was authentic, meaningful, and true to myself. The next morning, Elias and I sat at the small wooden table in the workshop, sharing a simple breakfast of toast and coffee. The rain had stopped, and the sun streamed through the window, casting a warm golden glow on the room. "So," Elias said, his eyes twinkling, "what are you going to do, Alistair?" I took a deep breath, my heart filled with a newfound sense of purpose. I'm going to build something, Grandpa, I said, my voice firm. Something that honors Clara, something that makes a difference. And what kind of something is that? He asked, his curiosity piqued. I smiled. A workshop, I said. A place where people can learn the skills I love, the skills Clara loved. A place where we can create and build and empower each other. Elias's eyes widened, his face breaking into a broad grin. I like the sound of that, lad, he said. I like it a lot. And so we began. With Elias's unwavering support and my own burning determination, we transformed his small workshop into a haven for creativity and learning. We gathered tools, salvaged materials, and spread the word throughout the community. People came from all walks of life, drawn by the promise of learning a new skill, of finding a sense of belonging. We taught carpentry, welding, metalworking, and more. We shared our knowledge, our passion, and our belief in the power of human ingenuity. The workshop became more than just a place of learning. It became a family. We laughed together, we struggled together, and we celebrated our triumphs together. We built not just objects, but also connections, friendships, and a sense of community that had been missing from our lives. Word of our workshop spread, attracting attention from unexpected corners. One day, a woman named Vivian arrived, her presence radiating an aura of quiet strength and determination. She was a successful architect, drawn to our work by its authenticity and its commitment to empowering others. Vivian offered to help us design a larger, more permanent space for our workshop, a place where we could expand our reach and impact. Her vision, combined with our passion and Elias's practical wisdom, resulted in a beautiful, functional building that became the heart of our community. The new workshop was a testament to the power of collaboration, of shared purpose, and of the enduring legacy of love and creativity that Clara had passed down to me. It was a place where dreams were built, not just with wood and metal, but with hope and resilience. But even as our workshop thrived, the shadow of my past continued to linger. My parents, initially dismissive of our efforts, began to take notice of our growing success. They saw the impact we were having on the community, the recognition we were receiving, and a flicker of something akin to regret sparked within them. One day, they came to visit the workshop, their faces etched with a mixture of curiosity and unease. They observed the students learning, the projects taking shape, the vibrant energy that filled the space. For the first time, they seemed to see me, not as the son they wanted me to be, but as the man I had become. The encounter was awkward, filled with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. But it was also a step towards healing, a tentative bridge across the chasm that had separated us for so long. As time passed, our workshop continued to grow, becoming a beacon of hope and opportunity in our community. We expanded our programs, offering scholarships to underprivileged youth, partnering with local businesses, and creating a ripple effect of positive change. And through it all, I carried Clara's journal with me, her words a constant source of inspiration and guidance. I learned to embrace my heritage, to celebrate my unique talents, and to live a life that honored her memory. One evening, as I was working late in the workshop, I received a phone call from a lawyer. He informed me that Clara had left me a small inheritance, a piece of land on the outskirts of town. It was a final gift from a mother I had never known, a tangible connection to my past, and a foundation for my future. With the help of Vivian and the support of our community, we decided to build a second workshop on Clara's land, a larger, more ambitious project that would serve as a training center for aspiring craftspeople from all over the region. We named it Clara's Legacy, a tribute to the woman whose love and sacrifice had made it all possible. The construction was a community effort, a testament to the bonds we had forged and the shared vision that united us. Students, teachers, local businesses, even my grandfather's old friends from his carpentry days, everyone pitched in, their hands working together to create something beautiful and enduring. My parents, witnessing the outpouring of support and the tangible impact of our work, began to soften their stance. They visited the construction site occasionally, their expressions a mixture of awe and a lingering sense of unease. I could see the conflict within them, the struggle between their ingrained prejudices and the undeniable truth of what we were achieving. One afternoon, as I was overseeing the raising of the main beam of the new workshop, my father approached me. He stood awkwardly, his hands clasped behind his back, his gaze fixed on the intricate carvings that adorned the wood. "It's impressive, Alistair," he said, his voice hesitant. "You've built something truly remarkable." I turned to him, my heart filled with a complex mix of emotions. Pride, gratitude, but also a lingering ache for the acceptance I had craved for so long. "It wasn't just me, Father," I replied. "It was a community effort. We all built this together." He nodded slowly, his gaze sweeping across the bustling construction site. "I can see that," he said. "There's a spirit here, a sense of purpose." He paused, his eyes meeting mine. "Your mother, she kept something," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "From Clara." He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, worn photograph. He handed it to me, his touch hesitant, almost reverent. It was a picture of Clara, young and radiant, holding me as a baby. Her smile was infectious, her eyes filled with a love that transcended the faded image. It was the first time I had ever seen a photograph of us together. Tears welled in my eyes as I traced Clara's face with my finger. A wave of emotion washed over me, a profound sense of connection to the woman who had given me life. "She wanted you to have it," my father said softly. We didn't know why we kept it all these years. But your mother, she couldn't bear to part with it." I looked at my father, my heart softening. For the first time, I saw him not as the stern, unyielding figure of my childhood, but as a man grappling with his own regrets, his own capacity for love and loss. "Thank you, Father," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "It means more than you know." He nodded, a flicker of something akin to a smile crossing his lips. "Perhaps," he said, "perhaps we were wrong about you, Alistair. Perhaps you were right all along." It was a small admission, a tentative step towards reconciliation. But it was enough. It was a sign that the walls between us were beginning to crumble, that the possibility of healing was within reach. The opening ceremony for Clara's legacy was a momentous occasion. The entire community turned out to celebrate, their faces filled with pride and hope. My grandfather stood beside me, his eyes shining with pride, his hand resting on my shoulder. My parents were there too, standing a little apart from the crowd, their expressions carefully neutral. But I saw a flicker of something in my mother's eyes, a hint of tears, as she watched me address the gathering. I spoke from the heart, sharing my story, Clara's story, and the story of the community that had come together to build something extraordinary. I spoke of the power of creativity, the importance of craftsmanship, and the enduring legacy of love and resilience. And as I looked out at the faces before me, I knew that we had created something truly special, something that would continue to inspire and empower for generations to come. But the story doesn't end there. The success of Clara's legacy brought with it new challenges, new opportunities, and new responsibilities. We began to attract attention from outside our community, from larger organizations and institutions that saw the potential in our work. Offers of funding, partnerships, and expansion poured in, each presenting its own set of complex decisions. Some urged us to grow quickly, to franchise our model, to become a large-scale enterprise with a national reach. They saw the potential for profit, for influence, for expanding our impact on a grand scale. Others cautioned against rapid growth, urging us to stay true to our roots, to maintain the intimate, community-centered approach that had been the foundation of our success. They feared that expansion would dilute our mission, compromise our values, and turn us into just another faceless corporation. Elias, ever the voice of wisdom and experience, offered his own perspective. "Growth is inevitable, Alistair," he said one evening, as we sat in the original workshop, the scent of wood and oil filling the air. "But it's how you manage that growth that matters. Don't let ambition blind you to what's truly important." His words resonated deeply with me. I knew that we couldn't remain stagnant, that we had a responsibility to share our knowledge and our passion with a wider audience. But I also knew that we had to do it in a way that honored our values, that prioritized people over profit, and that preserved the spirit of community that was at the heart of our work. We decided to pursue a path of sustainable growth, carefully selecting our partners, prioritizing quality over quantity, and remaining committed to our core mission of empowering individuals and strengthening communities. We established regional chapters of Clara's legacy, each one rooted in the unique needs and strengths of its local community. We developed online learning platforms, making our courses accessible to students around the world. We partnered with vocational schools and universities, creating pathways for students to pursue careers in the trades. And through it all, we remained committed to providing hands-on training, mentorship, and support to individuals who had been marginalized or overlooked by traditional educational systems. We believed that everyone deserved the opportunity to learn, to create, and to contribute their unique talents to the world. Our work attracted the attention of government agencies and policymakers, who saw the potential of our model to address critical workforce shortages and promote economic development. We were invited to participate in policy discussions, to share our expertise, and to advocate for greater investment in vocational education. I found myself in a new role as a spokesperson for the trades, a champion for the dignity of work, and a voice for those who had been silenced or ignored. It was a daunting responsibility, but I embraced it with passion and determination, knowing that I was carrying on Clara's legacy in a new and powerful way. As our organization grew, so too did the complexity of our challenges. We faced financial pressures, logistical hurdles, and the inevitable conflicts that arise when people with different perspectives work together. But through it all, we remained united by our shared purpose, our unwavering commitment to our values, and the enduring power of the bonds we had forged. And in the midst of the growth and the challenges, something unexpected happened. My relationship with my parents began to deepen and evolve. They became more involved in our work, volunteering their time, sharing their expertise, and offering their support in ways I had never imagined possible. They attended our events, celebrated our achievements, and expressed genuine pride in the impact we were having. It wasn't always easy. There were still moments of tension, of misunderstanding, of old wounds resurfacing. But we were learning to communicate, to empathize, and to see each other in a new light. One evening, my mother invited me to dinner at their home, a gesture that would have been unthinkable just a few years earlier. As we sat at the table, surrounded by the familiar trappings of their affluent life, I felt a strange sense of peace. We talked about our work, about our hopes for the future, and about the journey that had brought us to this point. My father shared stories about Clara, memories that he had kept hidden for so long, and my mother spoke of her own regrets and her longing for reconciliation. It was a long and emotional conversation, filled with tears, laughter, and the tentative beginnings of forgiveness. And as the evening drew to a close, I knew that we had reached a turning point in our relationship. We would never be the perfect family, the family I had once dreamed of. But we were a family nonetheless, bound together by blood, by shared history, and by the enduring power of love and connection. And so, the story continues. The journey is far from over. There will be more challenges, more triumphs, more unexpected twists and turns. But I face the future with hope and determination, knowing that I am not alone. I have my grandfather, my mentor, my friend, the man who believed in me when no one else did. I have my community, my family, the people who have supported me, challenged me, and inspired me to be the best version of myself. And I have Clara's legacy, the enduring spirit of creativity, resilience, and love that guides me every step of the way. And if you're still with me, if you've listened to this far, then I know you understand. You understand the power of hope, the importance of community, and the transformative potential of human connection. So, please, if you haven't already, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know in the comments what resonates with you the most. Your support means the world to me, and together, we can build a better future, one story, one connection, one act of kindness at a time.